Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And as you can see, I got a couple of packages today. Now, the other ones were from my haul, but this one's pretty special. So, let's go ahead and crack it open. See what's inside. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and cut it open. Alright guys, so here we have all three of the Scream Factory Sleepaway camps. Part 1, Part 2, Unhappy Campers, and Part 3, Teenage Wasteland. Now, the only way I do own these movies is on this survival kit. I think I bought this like 3 years ago, like at a pawn shop for like $10. Of course, I didn't know about this set until later, because originally you have the Red Cross one that got discontinued, but I ended up finding this later on, like I said, out in the wilderness. But this does come with the 3 movies, a little booklet, and then the 4th disc, Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor. You know what? I have watched the first one, but I never watched the rest of them. But I do remember the original one a lot. When it was on VHS, and renting it and seeing it on cable. But the guy that sold these to me, I did get them for a pretty good price. I've seen them online for like 80 bucks. 75 bucks was the cheapest. The reason he gave it to me cheaper was because he did say that one of the cases is like cracked or something like that. So right now we'll find out which one. So we'll go ahead and start with the original Sleepaway Camp. Of course, this was released in 1983, starring Felissa Rose as Angela and Jonathan Tristan, I think his name was, as Ricky. This one seems pretty clean. No problems with this one. Now, the original movie, it's the one I remember the most, and it came out right at the peak of the slasher age. They actually did a pretty good job in covering up who the killer was. I mean, at the time, nobody knew, like when this was new, nobody knew the end of the movie. Nobody knew who the killer was, so it was pretty interesting the way they set it up. This movie just came out in a different time, when it was still early in the 80s, and you could tell by the movie it's like pretty old school. But this is a cool release from Scream Factory. I mean, everybody has these, so I'm kind of late, but I did want to get them since my boy Drew had been talking about them. So I started hunting where I could get the best price. This is Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers. This one looks pretty good as well. course, this is when Felissa Rose didn't come back, so they hired Springsteen's sister, Pamela Springsteen, to play the killer role of Angela. This one was released in 1988. The director of this one was different than the first. The first was directed by Robert, what's his name? Hiltzik. And this next one was directed by Michael Simpson. But besides what's her name? Besides Pamela Springsteen, you have Renee Estevez, who's also related to the Sheens and the Estevez, like Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez. So that's pretty interesting. This one came out more like towards the end of the slasher phase. Like at the time this came out in '88, it was like going down. So it didn't do as well as the first one, and it's not so much like a parody, I would say, of horror. It's more like a satire, because the story is like, unlike the first one, it was like really dark and had a lot of crazy it dealt with a lot of crazy issues. This one was more campy, but it still is about the same killer, so it has killing, and it's not really a parody. It's more like just taking a look at all the slasher movies that had come out. You got a hockey mask in there, Freddy's glove, a chainsaw. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I never watched this one as much as the first one, but I had seen it before. This one did raise up the volume on like the sex and the rock and the killing. You got a crazy decapitation in there, like on screen. It was pretty sick. Pamela Springsteen does a pretty good job. I'd have to say that I do prefer the first one, but this one's pretty good. Now, they did eventually make a remake. What's it called? Return to Sleepaway Camp, and that one did have Felissa Rose and a lot of the actors from the first one, but I never really heard about it, like people talking about it and stuff. So I mean, I don't know if it's any good, but that is out there. That Return to Sleepaway Camp. And then we get to Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland. Now this one I did not really see when I was younger at all. Okay, so here's where it's messed up at. You can see, but pretty much that's just, well, the slip's kind of messed up, but I could just get a new case and fix that. It's not a big deal, I guess. But this one I did not watch as much. I know that the same director directed these two, Simpson. In fact, I think that they were like pretty much back-to-back directed. So this one was released the next year in '89. But in this one, I mean, you got Springsteen again, playing the same killer. She escaped in the first movie, and now she goes back to the same campsite. There's new campers. There's new killing. Who else stars in this one? You have that girl from the first Power, that Ginger, Tracy Griffith. She plays one of the campers, and this one's it just like dwindled down. It still has a lot of killing, but the killing isn't as good as these two. So you could tell the special effects budget like really dwindled down to nothing. But you know, it is what it is. They were supposed to come out with a fourth movie, which was in that survival kit, but they never ended up finishing it. So I don't know. I think they released like some kind of like bootleg where they added scenes from these to make that like a long movie, but I've never come across it. I never heard anybody really talking about it. Now they did eventually make a remake. What's it called? Return to Sleepaway Camp, and that one did have Felissa Rose and a lot of the actors from the first one, but I never really heard about it, like people talking about it and stuff. So I mean, I don't know if it's any good, but that is out there. That Return to Sleepaway Camp. These are classic movies. Glad to add them to my collection. That's it for now. See you guys on the next one.